Welcome to Husband Talking. Explore riveting tales of infidelity with us. Please subscribe and like to stay updated. Let's begin.
I'm here trying to figure out what to do. I got divorced about 10 months ago because my wife cheated on me. I don't have any kids or family nearby. The reason I'm telling you this is because I'm interested in someone else's wife. I can't tell if it's love, desire, or just wanting her because of what happened to me. I know part of it is revenge. The thing is, I barely know her. I see her a lot during lunch since she works in the same office building as me. I've been finding out as much as I can about her. I want her, but the question is what happens next? It's a terrible feeling. Wanting someone so much that I would even force her if I had to. I know she's about 28, petite, and married to some guy who doesn't seem to care about what he's got. She has no kids and likes to flirt. From what I can tell, her husband doesn't appreciate her and might lose her because of it. The worst thing about him is he broke up my marriage. He screwed my wife and now it'll make him pay by doing his wife. I figure if I take her and screw her, he'll be doing her a favor. In case you haven't figured it out, I'm a nutcase, a bona fide son of a bitch. I've been this way ever since I caught my wife cheating on me. I came home from work early one day and just walked into my house. I really wasn't paying much attention to anything and just walked into my bedroom to change my clothes. There, in the middle of the bed, lay my wife with another man. She saw me and screamed, and the sorry scum-sucker thought he was doing a good job. I grabbed him by the shoulders and pulled him off my cheatin' wife. As I threw him to the floor and started beating the living crap out of him, my crazy wife just kept screaming. I beat that pig pretty good. As he was starting to get up, I dragged him to the door and threw him naked right out into the street. I threw his wallet and car keys onto the grass, but not his clothes. He got up, staggered to his car a bloody mess, and drove away. I never saw or heard from him again until one day fate just intervened. I then walked back into the bedroom where my sorry excuse for a wife was getting dressed quickly. She was crying, "Michael, it's not what it looked like. Please let's talk about it. We can work this out." "Not what it looked like," I said. "It looked like you were screwing that a holy in our bed. Were you screwing him or not?" "Please, Michael, let me explain." I interrupted her. "Either you were screwing him or you weren't. Which is it? It isn't that hard of a question. Just answer it." I waited a few seconds and said, "Since you're having such a hard time with that one question, our talk is over. I'm going out to have dinner. You have 1 hour to get whatever you want and get the hell out of my life. If you're still here when I get back, I'm gonna beat the living shit out of you and then throw your sorry ass out. That's it. You have 1 hour. That's the end of this conversation." Then I walked out the door. I waited 2 hours before going back. I was hoping she would be gone. You see, I'm a man of my word, and I would have beat the hell out of her, even though she's a woman and my wife. When I got back home, she was gone, and most of her personal stuff was gone too. She left me a note. I wasn't even gonna read it, but then thought maybe I should. "Dearest Michael, I made a mistake. A really big mistake. Daniel doesn't mean anything to me. He was an old school friend that I ran into. We were lovers back in school. You knew I had a lover before we got married. It was Daniel, my first love. Things just happened, and old memories never die. I ran into Daniel at the mall. It was so good to see him again, just as an old friend. Well, he started flirting with me, and I started remembering old times. He asked me where I lived, and we came to the house. I should have known better, but I made a mistake. When we got into the house, I showed him around. When we got to the bedroom, he took me into his arms and kissed me. It just seemed like old times. Then it happened. We started necking like we used to, and then he took me. God, I wish it never happened, but it did. I'm so sorry for hurting you. Please reconsider taking me back. I promise to be a good wife and never to cheat again. I really do love you, Michael. Love always, Sophia. The note just hurt me worse. Now the prick had a name. I loved my wife, but I'm one of the nutcases out there that believes love can be lost. In my case, it was totally gone. It was replaced with revenge. Revenge isn't necessarily something you want, it's something you just have to do. I would get mine. I called off work the next day, seeing I had to change our check-in and savings accounts. I called most of the credit card companies and canceled them. I kept 2 that were in my name only for any expenses I might incur. I'm a hard-nosed bastard and not afraid to admit it. That's just the way it is. Sophia's dad called and asked what the problem was between me and Sophia. I got pissed and said, "What the hell is the matter with you? Don't tell me you didn't have the balls to ask your own daughter." "Well, Patrick, I caught your precious bitch of a daughter screwing one of her friends in our bed. Am not the forgiven kind and threw her out. She had a chance to take whatever she wanted, and am not giving her another damn dime. If she wants to go to court and bring out the dirty laundry, that's fine with me. Otherwise, leave me alone. Then I just hung up the phone. 2 days later, Rachel, who is Sophia's younger sister, called me and asked if I would talk to her for a few minutes. I told her, go ahead and talk. I'm listening. She started out saying how Sophia was so sorry until I cut her off. I don't care how sorry Sophia is. Do you have anything else to say? If you say the name Sophia again, I'll hang up. Your bitch of a sister doesn't exist in my life anymore. Rachel asked if there were any more personal items that belonged to her sister left at the house. I just told her that her sister had an hour to take all she wanted with her. If she forgot something, then that was too damn bad. Rachel mentioned a few items. I was starting to get pissed again, so I responded in the only way I knew. Rachel, I'll tell you what. You come over here and screw me on my bed, and I'll let you take whatever else you want for your precious sister. She screamed back, you sorry son of a bitch. How dare you talk to me like that? Wait until I tell my husband, and you can deal with him. Does that mean I'm not going to get a chance to screw you? I always thought you'd be a pretty good lay. Well, then send that sorry excuse for a husband over here. Maybe you'll just screw him. I wasn't afraid of the chicken shit. He was just a yes person to his wife. I had no doubts I would never see him at my door. I could hear someone in the background on the phone. I knew it was Sophia. Rachel must have handed her the phone. All I heard was, Michael, you son of a bitch. Then I just hung up the phone. I contacted my lawyer and had him fill out the necessary papers, giving Sophia nothing. We were renting the house. We each had our own car. Other than that, I just kept the savings accounts. Sophia never fought the divorce. I let it be known that I would talk to no one in the family except Rachel, and that was only if she met my demands. Damn, I was a hard ass. Rachel was a looker. She was a little better looking gal than her sister Sophia. Both were good-looking women, but Rachel was a few years younger. I was getting ready to move out of the house, and the divorce was already final. I called Rachel on the phone and asked if she wanted to get a few personal items of her sister's that I was moving into an apartment and didn't want to haul her shit around. If she didn't come and get it, I would just throw it all out. She quickly said yes. She would come and get the items that evening. I told her to either come alone or bring that sorry excuse for a husband with her. Under no circumstances was Sophia to be at my door. When Rachel arrived at my door that evening, she was alone. I asked about her husband, but she said he was busy. I knew the truth was that he was afraid, and she knew I was going to screw her when she came into the house. We walked into the bedroom where I had her sister's stuff packed. She reached down for one of the boxes when I said, "Hold it. You haven't paid for it yet." She looked at me and said, "You can't be serious. I'm not going to make love to you." I laughed. "No, not love, just plain sex. You've been thinking about this for a long time." I said, "Give it up, Rachel. You're not fooling anyone. There's only you and me here." Then I kissed her. "Screw you. You're just like your sister." I took some of my revenge out on her, but damn, it felt good. I walked over and picked up a couple of her sister's boxes of stuff and headed out to her car. When I came back in, she started yelling at me. "You son of a bitch. You just used me for your pleasure. How can you be so cold, so callous? What has happened to you? Where is the fun, loving Michael that was once here? He died. Your sister killed him. She did to me what I just did to your husband. I made him a cuck, a chicken. You got what you wanted, just like your sister. Now take her stuff and get the hell out of my house. Don't forget to tell your husband when you get home. He is probably chicken enough to stay with you. By the way, I don't want any more of you. I can't stand a cheatin' wife. You have all your sister's stuff, so there should be no reason for you to come back." She called me a scum, grabbed the last box of stuff and left my house. She was a damn good lay, but I knew that I just wanted her for revenge on her sister. Screwin' can never take the place of love, it just can't. I'm not saying screwin' is bad. I'm saying it can't be put in the same category as love. It seems to build up in you. It's all you think about: revenge, get even, make the perpetrators pay for their act. That was my goal. I knew it wouldn't solve my problems. I knew it, but it was just something I had to do. Right or wrong, I was going to extract my revenge. Her name was Olivia, the good-looking petite gal I saw every day. Sometimes you get an urge, a feeling you can't get rid of. That's what I felt when I saw this gal almost every day. She would come into the restaurant with her girlfriends. They would all laugh and seem to enjoy their lives. One of the gals she ate lunch with was Amy. I would known her for years. We were friends but not real close. Kinda hi, Amy, how are you today? Type friends. Amy knew about my divorce. In a small community, almost everyone you know has heard the rumors. One day when Amy came into the restaurant alone at lunchtime, I asked her to join me for lunch. I wanted to talk to her. She sat down, a little suspicious. I told her it was just for lunch, that I got tired of always eating alone. We talked about her family and how the kids were. She told me about her husband's promotion and about things in general. She asked me about my life and how things were since the divorce. Everyone knew Sophia cheated on me, but no one knew with whom. If anyone ever had the balls to ask, I simply told them I didn't know who it was, and it really didn't make any difference. I asked Amy about the new girl in their office. She told me her name was Olivia. She and her husband John had moved here about a year ago. When she said the name John, it just didn't sit right. Amy looked at me and said, Michael, Olivia is a happily married woman. You're not going to make a play on her, are you? Everyone knew about my bad personality since the divorce. I told Amy that I thought Olivia was a fine-looking woman and just wondered who she was. She gave me more information on John, and then I had to find out if he was who I thought he was. If he was, there was no doubt in my mind that I was going to screw Olivia. I hated being like this, but I couldn't help it. One day at lunchtime, I was in a corner booth with a friend of mine having lunch. He had never asked me much about my personal life. He knew better, so we got along just fine. As we were eating, in came Olivia and her husband. It was the son of a bitch that I caught screwing my wife. Damn. I wanted to go over and punch his lights out again, but I kept my cool. He never recognized me, seeing he only saw me for a few seconds while I beat the shit out of him. But unfortunately, I recognized him and set out to screw his wife. One day when Olivia was alone at the restaurant, I started talking to her. I introduced myself and mentioned that I was friends with Amy. I wanted to put Olivia at ease. She smiled and introduced herself. I asked her if she wanted to share a table. She looked a little nervous until I told her she would have to pay for her own lunch. That made her laugh. As we sat down, she just talked up a storm, telling me about herself and indicating that her husband John had transferred here a little over a year ago. She stated that they had kind of a rocky start here, that her husband was jumped by two men, and they had stolen everything he owned. He had to drive to the emergency room and had stitches above his left eye. She said he was a mess when he got home. She mentioned he filed a police report but didn't have a good enough description, and the police never caught the culprits. That explained why he never turned me in. After lunch, I told her it was so nice to meet her and that any time she wanted to share a table, it was fine with me. Now I had a real problem. I liked Olivia. I really liked her. I needed my revenge and at the same time did not want to hurt Olivia. What to do? I would have to think on this. I saw her almost every day, most of the time with the other girls from her office. She always looked over at me and smiled. One day in passing, I told her I was going to start lunch an hour later, so I probably wouldn't have a chance to eat lunch with her again. But lo and behold, the next day she took her lunch an hour later and was alone. She came to my table and asked to join me. Of course, I said yes, and we started having lunch almost every day together. We started to become good friends, and I was starting to have strong feelings for her. One day, I got up and said to her that I thought she was one of the most beautiful, nicest women I would ever met. If she wasn't married, I would ask her out. She acted nervous and said, "But I am married, Michael. I might not have the best marriage, but I won't ever cheat on my husband." Couldn't. It's just not right. I had to ask her about that last statement. What is wrong with your marriage? She had tears in her eyes and said she thought her husband had been cheating on her, but she wasn't sure. I took her hand and just held it for a minute. She was shaken as I did my best to calm her down. I was wondering what kind of an unholy would give up a wonderful woman like this to just screw around. What an idiot. Then I began to wonder if he was back with Sophia again. I looked at Olivia and told her I had something very important to talk to her about, but I couldn't do it there and asked if she would meet me after work. I needed her to trust me enough to go to my apartment where we could talk very privately. "Michael, I can't go to your apartment. What would that look like? What would people think?" I just thought about Sophia for a second. Why couldn't she have been like this? "Olivia, it is extremely important that I talk to you. I care for you too much not to tell you what I know. Please meet with me. I think I trust you, Michael. I do like you but don't know you well enough to be alone in an apartment with you. Can we meet here and either talk in the car or in a restaurant? Okay, Olivia, let's meet here after work. I'll even buy your dinner. She smiled at me and said, boy, it must be important if you're willing to buy dinner. As she laughed, I had to get my thoughts in order. What would I say? How would I say it? I didn't want to take the chance of alienating Olivia. I wanted her for my revenge. But now I also wanted her for me. Yes, old hard-nosed son of a bitch Michael was fallen for another man's wife. Damn it, it wasn't supposed to happen this way. I was just supposed to take her in front of her husband and then laugh at him. Why did it have to be her? Damn it. We met for dinner. She told me she had talked to Amy and was told about my divorce and how my wife was found by me having sex with another man. She said that it must have been awful seeing this in my own home. She stated how sorry she felt for me. She was so afraid of finding out the same kind of information on her husband. She didn't know how she would handle it if it happened to her. Olivia, there are a few things I must tell you about me. I know you're married, but I'm fallen in love with you. Please, Michael, don't say any more. I'm a married woman. Olivia, it is imperative I tell you these things. I must tell you and you have to listen, please. As I said, I'm fallen in love with you. My problem is I'm a hard-nosed scumsucker. Findin, my wife, and her lover together made me that way. I know you've heard people talk and say what a mean scumsucker I've become. I can't help it. I wish I could. I'm always walking around with a chip on my shoulder. My wife put that chip there, along with her lover. My plan was revenge. I was gonna find her lover's wife and screw her in front of her husband. Yes, the son of a bitch was married too. Olivia interrupted me. Please, Michael, you don't need to tell me this. It's so personal and I know it hurts for you to talk about it. I hear it in your voice. Let me continue, please, Olivia. As I said, I was gonna get revenge on my wife's lover and screw his wife in front of him. Now I have a big problem. The woman whom I was gonna take, the woman I've fallen in love with. Olivia put her hands over her face in shock. She knew the man was her husband, and the woman I fell in love with was her. Olivia had tears rolling down her face. My God, it's so hard to believe. How do you know? How can you be so sure? You were gonna assault me for revenge against my husband? She was crying harder. I wanted to put my arms around her to comfort her, but she stopped me. Please don't touch me right now, she said. I need a moment to think. Olivia, a year ago I found the man in my bedroom. I beat the shit out of him and threw him out of my house without any clothes. All I knew was that his name was John. I then pulled out the note from my pocket that Sophia had left me. For some strange reason, I had kept it. I handed it to Olivia to read. She cried as she read it. I watched you for the last 6 months coming down to the restaurant to eat lunch. Day by day, I waited to see you. You were the only bright spot in my life, and I didn't even know you. But I was slowly falling for you. I didn't know at the time you were married. I never approached you because I had temper problems and was still planning my revenge. Then one day I asked Amy about you. She told me you were married, and I felt bad. I really wanted to get to know you better, but I didn't want to ruin your marriage. Then another day your husband met you for lunch. That was when I knew who he was. I did everything in my power not to beat the shit out of him again. If you had been any other woman, I would have taken you in front of him by now, just for the revenge. Olivia was crying with her hands folded in front of her. I continued, I was fallen in love with you and couldn't assault the woman I love. Now I'm in deep turmoil. I want to hurt your husband and not hurt you. I want to make love to you. It's been a long time since I made love. The last year has all been about revenge. I believe that your husband is back with Sophia since they were childhood sweethearts, and she is now divorced. How do you feel about me, Olivia? I need to know so I know what to do. I promise, regardless of your feelings for me, I will not hurt you. I just couldn't do it. Now I know that I'm a prick, a scumsucker, and a vengeful person. I'm hard-nosed as hell, but there is another side of me, one that hasn't seen the light of day for a year now. I want to show you that person. Please give me a chance to show you that side of me. I could be the kinder, gentler person for the right woman. For some reason, deep inside of me, I know you are that woman. There is a nice guy who wants to get out. Revenge is blocking his way. Help me, Olivia. Help me get my revenge on your husband. Then, if you want, we could build a real lovin' life together. My God, Michael, so much at once. My mind is swimming with questions, and right now I don't have any answers. I'm not even sure I know my feelings for you, my husband, or even for myself. I need to think about all you've told me before I can give you any kind of answers. Please, Please understand that I'm not playing you or putting you off. I want to help you. You seem to be hutting so much inside. But I don't know. I just don't know. After a somewhat upsetting dinner, I walked Olivia to her car. I told her I was sorry if I had upset her, but I thought she should know the truth. I would do whatever I could to work with her to solve both of our problems. This might have not been the right time to tell her of my growing feelings toward her, but I would explode if I didn't vent them to her. I just wanted her to know. She did let me give her a light hug before she left. So far, I hadn't solved any problems. I think I just made everything worse. Maybe telling her about her husband's past wasn't the right thing to do. I have no idea what her thoughts were. I just hope everything turned out good for her. The next day, I couldn't wait to see her at lunch. I had to know her feelings and thoughts. I went to the restaurant where we usually ate. I waited for her, but she never showed up. My God, what did I do? Did she have it out with her husband? Did he try to hurt her? If he did, I would kill the son of a bitch. Maybe she went the other way and just told him about me and who I was. God, her not showing up had me worried. I didn't know if I should try calling her house or just wait one more day. I had a hard time finishing my work day. I did my best to get my mind off Olivia. When I got home, my phone rang. It was Olivia. She sounded distraught. Michael, I have to see you. I know I said I shouldn't come to your place, but things have changed. I want to make that. I have to see you tonight. Can I stop by, please? My God, Olivia. I was so worried about you. I had such a hard time today after not seeing you at lunch. Did that scumsucker hurt you? If he did, he'll kill the son of a bitch. Yes, come over right now. They'll be here waiting for you. As I hung up the phone, the doorbell rang. Who could that be, I wondered. I opened the door, and there stood Olivia, grinning at me. I followed you home but needed to know if you were just blowing smoke or really wanting to help me. When you answered the phone the way you did, I knew you were being honest with me. I'm sorry for the little test, but I had to be sure. God, I was so glad to see her. I gave her a big hug, and she felt so good. Why didn't you go to work today? I asked. Last night, I spent the whole evening trying to get my mind straight. John, my husband, came home late. He used his usual excuse of working late. I tried to be a little lovey-dovey with him, but he wanted no part of it. He said he was tired and was going to bed. I thought to myself, if a man refused to make love with a woman like Olivia, either he had just gotten his rocks off or was brain dead. Olivia said, I waited for John to leave for work this morning, and then I thought I would do some detective work. I started going through the computer files, looking for hidden files or letters that didn't belong. I work on the computer at my job, so I know my way around them pretty good. Because of the information you gave me, I was able to trace a few files. Erase what I found. She handed me all kinds of information. She said she would explain it to me so I wouldn't have to read all the detailed information. She looked at me and said, First, I have to tell you, I don't love John anymore. After all the information I found out about him, I think I despise him. I don't like being used, and that's one of my possible problems with you. I grabbed her hands and held them. Then she said, I'm not sure how I feel about you. One side of me really cares for you, but the other side of me says watch it, he just wants to use you for his revenge and then drop you like a hot potato. So for now, I want to keep our relationship on a wait-and-see mode. If you care for me like you say, you will wait till our lives become clearer. Then we can proceed from there. What do you say? I smiled at her and said, That's all I ask for, Olivia. A chance to prove myself. I really do care for you, and if I start moving too fast, please just tell me to slow down. Can we seal our deal with a kiss before we get started on your detective work? She smiled at me with a big silly grin and said, No, now let's get started. My husband applied for this job here. He wasn't just transferred like he told me. He asked to be transferred. That was his first lie. This was his old hometown where he grew up. I didn't think much about it at the time. I just thought that he was like a lot of people and just wanted to move back to their old stomping ground. I loved him, so I agreed to the move. He went to his class reunion about 14 months ago. Did your ex-wife go to it, and if she did you go also? I had a family engagement at the time. It was my mom's birthday, so I went there instead. He told me the old class reunions are usually boring anyway. Come to think of it, my wife did have a class reunion. I had an out-of-town business trip that weekend. I asked her if she wanted to go with me, but she said she would like to go see all her old friends. I never thought anything about it till now. Damn, you are a pretty good private investigator. Erase a copy of some of the emails between them just before the reunion. Not love letters, but they definitely were expecting to see each other. Now here are a couple of emails after the reunion. As you can see, or at least read, when you caught them making love around for months later, it wasn't their first time meeting up and making love. They had been doing it for months already. I got pissed. Telling me, "Oh honey, it's not what you think, it just happened." I thought my revenge against her was over since we weren't married anymore, that I was only going to get revenge on John. But now things had changed. Olivia could see the hurt and meanness in my eyes. I told Olivia that I wasn't mad at her at all, but being made a cuck by my ex-wife really pissed me off. Then I looked over at Olivia and said, "I really need to be kissed right now to calm me down, or I'm going to have to run my fist through the wall." I stood up and walked toward the wall. "Stop, you idiot. I'll kiss you," she screamed. She got up and came up to me. She put her arms around me and kissed me really gently for a few seconds. When our lips separated, I looked into her eyes and slowly pressed my lips to hers again with a little more feeling. As we separated the second time, she said, "That's enough, Tiger. I'm only human too." As we sat back down, I thanked her. She looked at me and said, "My pleasure. And I really mean pleasure. Now let's get back to work. I can't be here all night." We both laughed as we thought the same thing. Here are copies of my husband's cell phone records for the past year or so. As you can see, this number is called almost daily. I called the phone company, and it belongs to a Sophia Thompson. That's my wife's maiden name. I didn't even know she took it back. Also, I never knew she had a cell phone. When was it purchased? According to my husband's phone records to that number, it must have been about a month before he was beaten up by a couple of thugs named Michael. She was smiling. That means she had the phone before you caught them. That could explain why they got away with it for so long and also why she didn't fight for more money during the divorce. Some of this might have come out and wouldn't have helped her case. What about you, Olivia? Where do you stand in all this? For me, right now, it's mostly pride, but you're still married to the scumsucker. What do you want us to do? She looked at me, knowing I said the word us instead of you. I want to take him for everything we have. I want to make him sorry he ever did this to me. I want to embarrass him in public. How do I do all this without becoming a whore or a bitch? I want to keep my pride and hopefully you, Michael. Do you think you can live in the same house for a couple of weeks without giving anything away? No problem. I just don't want to make love to him. Other than that, I don't have any problem making a dinner or two. If he continues to see his girlfriend regularly, I should be all right. Well, Olivia, to begin with, you need to go shopping. We can go during lunch if you like. Make sure you use joint credit cards in both your names. We don't want you to get in trouble using cards in his name only. Buy yourself everything you always wanted. Run up as much debt as you can. Take some cash advances and put the money in a savings account or buy bonds or stock. Michael, aren't you a stockbroker? Why aren't you doing the investing for me? I didn't want you to have any doubts about me. I really care for you and want you to trust me. I can invest the money for you if you like. I just want you to know that I don't want any of it. I'm here to help you. If you decide to make love to me at some point, that will be the revenge for me. We figured that the credit cards were going to be our starting point. As she got up to leave, I asked her, "Do I get any more kisses tonight?" She put her arms around me and opened her mouth slightly and kissed me. I was feeling like a teenager. Then she pulled away saying, "Damn, you're good. See you at lunch tomorrow." She smiled and got into her car. The next day, instead of eating lunch, we went to a couple of banks. Using her joint credit cards, she took thousands of dollars as cash advances. That would give her a month to make all her transfers before the credit card bills came due. She was smart. She didn't max out any cards just in case he was to use any of them. She did find out he was charging a motel room twice a week on one of the cards. We did the bank thing for 3 days using 7 different charge cards. I took the checks and invested all the money for her. I used tax-free government bonds and other accounts that would be hard to get the money out of. Olivia had me put the accounts in my name so her husband wouldn't be able to get any of the money. I did make her a co-signer of the accounts so I couldn't take any money without her signature. The co-signer was my idea. I wanted her to feel safe about the investments and about me. I started to check out the latest on my ex. Couldn't find much. I gave Olivia whatever information I could about her, and she ran with it. She said that Sophia was now working for the same company as her husband. Sophia was one of the company's secretaries. Olivia used her connections and found out where they spent their time when not at work. They were getting sloppy. Since they had been cheating for so long, they didn't think anyone noticed. Olivia had her girlfriend start talking pictures and notes on whatever was happening. I found out everyone loved Olivia. All the other secretaries respected her. Whenever they had a computer problem, they called her. I found out she was literally a computer geek without the geek look. She went from office to office helping all the secretaries with their computer problems. They never felt belittled or were made fun of because Olivia would always take the time to explain the procedures to them. They all felt protective of her. I didn't know about my revenge. How was I going to do it? I couldn't assault Olivia, not now that she was the only good thing in my life. My ex-wife was out of my life, but I wouldn't mind getting a little revenge on her since this was a long-running affair before our divorce. But how, and what could I do without Olivia's help? I wasn't sure I could pull it off. Olivia had told me she couldn't just make love to me right now. If she did, she wouldn't be any better than my cheating wife or her husband. She did care for me but was still a married woman. I needed a plan. What to do. As I told you, I was a bad bastard and had been for a year. I worked out and kept myself in good physical shape. I had to. I've been around a lot of friends that were of a questionable nature. To be frank about them, they were pimps and hookers. I was their investment broker. Together, we made a lot of money. They made the bucks and I invested it for them. Yes, I did make it with a few of the hookers. Believe it or not, some of them were really nice people. Of course, others weren't so nice. Luckily, I knew which were which. They really were good to have as friends. They brought a lot of business my way just because I didn't belittle them. I might not have agreed with their lifestyle, but they were people too. I gave one of my pimp friends a call and asked him for a favor. When I got done explaining it to him, he laughed out loud and said, "Man, you are one bad scumsucker. You know it's gonna cost you. No freebies in this world." I told him, "No problem, Tony, as long as it's done right. There might even be a bonus in it for you." Good deal. My plan was finally starting to come together. Olivia and I got together one evening to plan our operation. She was worried that I might still want to take her in public, and it was against everything she believed in. She really was a special woman of good character. I promised her, with God as my witness, that I would never hurt or embarrass her in any way. She just gave me her patented smile that could melt ice and said, "I think I'm fallin' for you big time. Just thought you should know." I asked her to take the next couple of days off as vacation, sick days or leave. It didn't make any difference except we only had a couple of days to set up this sting operation. It had to work like clockwork to succeed. Well, what's the plan, Michael? How are you going to get revenge and not use me? What do you need me to do? First, stop asking so many questions. I smiled at her. Now, next Wednesday you say they have room 203 booked, is that correct? Yes, they have it reserved until 10 in the evening. They seem to always reserve the same room and always for about 5 hours. Not the best of motels, but they need to rent it by the hour. Funny, the way John made love to me, he could have rented it for 15 minutes and saved a lot of money. Okay, now tomorrow I'm gonna reserve the same room for Wednesday morning. I'm gonna be setting up a remote-operated VCR. While I'm doing that, you need to go see my lawyer, Rebecca Hayes. She's the best damn Taquino prisoner's lawyer out there. Erase what you want written up. It's gonna be your divorce decree, stating that you want a divorce under these circumstances. Then Wednesday night, you'll have to get John's signature on it. How do you know he'll sign it, Michael? What if he says no? What will I do? Don't worry, Olivia. I'm almost positive he'll sign it. The consequences are too great. Do you want me to tell you the whole plan? Or do you want to wait and be surprised? My God, Michael, you're making me a nervous wreck. I don't think I could wait to find out anything. You seem so excited, and it's rubbing off on me. You're so very special to me that I want you as much as this revenge. We will get the revenge. It's for both of us. Then I just hope you feel the same about me as I do about you. Then my revenge will be complete. Are we gonna completely ruin their lives, Michael? I don't feel real good about that. I just kinda wanna get even. We are gonna put their lives in turmoil, but their lives will go on unless they are foolish enough not to sign your divorce papers. Okay, sweetheart, erase the plan. They usually meet between 5 and 6. John usually gets there about a half hour before Sophia. We are gonna do a job on him. I have my friend Tony stopping by to pay John a visit. He will have Rebecca and Linda with him. They are hookers who are not working at the present due to a bad case of syphilis. I'm paying them to have unprotected sex with John, both of them. Tony is there to make sure he takes care of his women. The last thing that John would want to do is cross Tony. How do you know these people, Michael? They're my clients. They bring in a lot of money, and I help them invest it. Of course, when Sophia shows up, she can have a choice: screw her lover John, or Tony will get his rocks off. Now, during all these sex acts, you and I will be sitting in the van running the remote control. Then, when the time is right, you will walk in, catch them in the act, and ask for a divorce. Then you will walk over to the closet and give John a choice: sign the divorce papers, or you will leave with the tape, and you will send a copy to his employers and to the company's home office. The choice is his. Then, after his choice is made, you come back to the van. Tony will be there to protect you from any harm. He will not leave until after you go. Well, what do you think, Olivia? Is it a go? She smiled at me and said, "You're doing this more for me than for yourself, aren't you? God, there is another side of you, and I'm beginning to like it very much. It's a go." Over the next couple of days, we set everything up. Olivia saw Rebecca Hayes, our lawyer, who said she wanted to be there herself to serve John with the divorce papers. There was no doubt she would have his signature on the legal document. She was the most well-known divorce lawyer in the state. Rebecca said that this was such a cool plan and that we have sent her a lot of business over the years. She was a good friend and just wanted to be in on the sting. Tony was ready. We paid him in advance and told him he'd get an extra $500 if all went well. He just smiled and said, "No problem." I went over to the motel and rented the room for the afternoon on Wednesday. The desk clerk said I had to be out by 4 p.m. because this room was already rented. I met up with Olivia, and we went to a really nice restaurant to have lunch. Lo and behold, there was my ex-sister-in-law having lunch with some guy who wasn't her husband. I told Olivia who it was, and she asked if it would hurt our plans any. I told her that the man with Rachel was not her husband, and seeing she didn't know Olivia, we could enjoy our lunch. When Rachel saw me, she was horrified, caught in the act, so to speak. I could see she was extremely nervous and was wondering who I was with. Olivia looked great. Olivia caught on real quick. She moved into the seat next to me instead of across from me. She then turned my face toward her and kissed me. She put everything into that kiss. Not only was Rachel watching, but so was everyone who could see us. Olivia pulled back and smiled, saying, "Think that got anyone's attention?" Then she kissed me again. She stopped when the waiter was making some strange noises. I looked at the waiter and said, "She is one beautiful woman, isn't she?" He replied, "Yes, she is, sir. She belongs to me, don't you, sweetheart?" I looked at her. "Only you, baby. I belong only to you," she smiled. God, I hoped it was true, but I knew she was putting on the show so my ex-sister-in-law would have something to say to Sophia. Rachel never did come over to see us. Geez, I wonder why. Olivia and I finished up our lunch and then headed out the door. We went to the electronics store and picked up the equipment we needed. As we were checking out, she said the kiss in the restaurant was for real. She said she meant it, even though she did do it to spite my ex-sister-in-law. Wednesday morning came. Olivia and I were both on edge. Any sting operation puts the nerves on edge. Every detail had to be timed and done right. Not much room for error. Olivia met with Rebecca to make sure the divorce papers were in order. I went to the motel room and set up the video equipment. I parked the rented van just around the side of the building so it wouldn't be conspicuous. That evening, I went with Olivia to see Tony. When he saw Olivia, he about shit himself. "Geez, man, who's the baby doll?" he asked. I looked at him and introduced Olivia. I know she was nervous, but Tony had a tendency to affect people that way. Standing about 66 and weighing in at about 320 pounds, but he was a really smart guy. He had a master's degree in business. His net worth was in the millions. I know because I was his finance broker. He could see she was nervous and told her, "Don't worry, little lady, no one's gonna hurt you. Michael is my friend, and I respect the man. He'll see to it you're protected. No one is gonna hurt you." She felt a little better and thanked him for his kindness. Lou said he and his girls would show up around 5:15 p.m. He wanted to give John a few minutes to get organized. Earlier in the day, Olivia applied some of her computer expertise. She sent an email to both John and Sophia saying the note was from the other. It read, "Sweetheart, I have a very special treat for you tonight. Please, when you arrive, don't ask any questions. I know you will be surprised, just go along. Also, to make it extra special, let's not communicate the rest of this day. I want this to be a night that you will always remember. Love you, me." At 4:45 p.m., Olivia and I got into our van and waited. At exactly 5 p.m., John arrived and went into the room. We were very nervous. This was a big undertaking for us. At 5:15 p.m., we watched as Tony approached the room with Rebecca and Linda. As they knocked on the door, we turned on our cameras. We didn't want to start the tape until the action got underway. We had 2 cameras running, one from above the lights and the other from inside the smoke alarm. It was unbelievable, the quality of the picture from a pinhole camera. I had to remember to return tomorrow and retrieve my cameras. Olivia and I were nervous as hell as Tony knocked on the door. As he opened the door, we heard John say, "Who are you?" Louis explained, "I was paid to bring 2 of my women to this room for some sexual excitement." John said, "There must be some mistake." Then Louis asked, "Do you have a problem having fun with my ladies, buddy? Are you John Bennett?" John replied he was but didn't expect company. Louis told him that they were paid in advance to come to that room and have sex with the occupants. Louis told him they weren't a charity and were not returning any money. Then he pushed his way in and told his girls to help John off with his clothes. We started the tapes. John was nervous, you could see it on the tape. He thought this was the surprise that Sophia had for him since he had gotten the email earlier, so he went along. A little information about Rebecca and Linda: they really were good-looking women, even though they were hookers. They were good at what they did. Of course, the only problem was at that time, they had syphilis and it could be passed along very easily through sexual contact. These gals had John. Tony just sat back in a big chair and watched. The girls were good. Olivia was watching through our remote. She was both sad and glad at the same time. Sad that her husband of 5 years chose to cheat on her, while at the same time glad that her revenge had started. There was a knock on the door, and Tony opened it to see Sophia standing there. He told her to come in. She asked what was going on when she saw her boyfriend John laying on the bed with a woman. As she entered the room, she didn't know what to think. All she knew was that John had sent her an email saying something special was going to happen that night. As she entered the room, Tony told her to disrobe. She was scared, looking at this big man telling her what to do. He told her he had no intention of touching her. He was just there to protect his girls. Linda looked at Sophia and told her that they didn't have all night and to hurry and get her clothes off. The cameras were catching everything, the sound and the video. Both John and Sophia were in sexual heaven. Rebecca and Linda got dressed and were leaving. There was a knock on our van door. It was Rebecca Hayes, our lawyer. She asked how it was going and then glanced at the monitor. John was busy with Sophia, the hooker. Rebecca and Linda were back in their vehicle waiting for Tony. They did their job well. Tony waited outside the door to protect Olivia and Rebecca in case they needed him. Both Olivia and Rebecca approached the door. Olivia was first to enter the room. "You goddamn son of a bitch. You worthless piece of shit. You goddamn cheatin' bastard." Olivia used every swear word she ever learned. "I want a divorce and I want it now." John and Sophia stopped screwing to see Olivia in the doorway yelling at them. They knew they were caught red-handed. There was no way they could explain their way out of this one. Olivia continued to speak. "Why, John, why? Wasn't I good enough for you that you hooked up with this whore? I knew you were having an affair. I had hoped you would have gotten it out of your system, but no, you continued and continued it. I've had enough. I want a divorce and I want it as soon as possible." Then Rebecca Hayes walked in. "John, this is my lawyer, Rebecca Hayes. She will tell you the terms of the divorce decree. I expect to get the divorce started tonight so I can have you out of my life as soon as possible, and you can have your girlfriend." Both John and Sophia got out of the bed and started getting dressed as they heard Olivia's voice. They never had time to take a shower, so the venereal disease was probably starting to set in. In Rebecca Hayes, Olivia's lawyer. The terms of the divorce are very simple and very clear. 1. Olivia will go home tonight and will have 72 hours to gather whatever belongings she wants. You will not be there tonight. After 72 hours, she will never return to the premises. It's an apartment rental in your name, so you can have it. 2. You will be responsible for all bills due before today's date. That includes all credit cards that are held in your name or held jointly by both of you. Olivia will give you all joint cards tonight, and she will never use them again. She will be responsible for any cards in her name only. 3. You each have your own car, and each will be responsible for your own vehicle's insurance and payment, as well as upkeep. 4. Lastly, your savings account with a balance of $45,000 will go to Olivia. She will withdraw the money from the account tomorrow. You have a retirement account that has over $40,000 in it. Olivia has one with $60,000 in it. You will both be able to keep your own retirement accounts. If you agree to these terms, you will have to sign the decree tonight. It is irrevocable. Neither of you will be able to make any changes after it is signed. Olivia has already signed it. Just sign it on the line that says husband. Rebecca handed him the document to look over and sign. Sophia sat there and looked on. John said, "What if I don't sign it tonight? What are you gonna do?" Rebecca said, "That document you are holding will be voided in 5 minutes when I leave. Then we will go to court and ask for the same benefits, except we will make sure we get half of your retirement account also. This is a good deal for you. I would advise you to take it." Olivia walked over to the closet, opened it and pulled out the VCR tape. "This is a tape of tonight's events. It will become part of our divorce case." John said, "I'm not that stupid. You can't use that tape. You took it without permission." Rebecca started Logan. "You really are a dumbass. We want use it in the divorce, but we will make copies and send it to your company and to your company's home office. I'm sure they don't approve of their married employees having affairs." John took a couple of steps toward them when Tony re-entered the room. "You weren't gonna hurt my friends, were you, John?" John backed off. "Well, John, you now have 3 minutes to make up your mind, and then we will be out of here," Rebecca stated. Sophia turned to John and in almost a whisper said, "John, Rebecca Hayes was my husband's lawyer, and I didn't get a damn dime. She's said to be one of the best in the state. You better take that offer, or you will be up shit creek in a boat without a paddle. Besides, we'll lose our jobs if that tape gets in the wrong hands." Rebecca looked at John. "1 minute and we are out of here. See you in court." As they turned to leave, John yelled, "Wait, he'll sign it, but only if I get the tape." Olivia looked at Tony and handed him the tape. "After Rebecca and I walk out of here, you can hand this tape to the prick." She also handed him an envelope with the promised bonus of 500. Rebecca repeated what she had said earlier, "This document is irrevocable. If you have any questions, you must contact me. You are not to bother Olivia in any way, or I will have you arrested and put in jail. If you understand all I have said, then sign the document, and he'll give you a copy along with the tape and joint credit cards. Remember, Olivia has 72 hours to take whatever she wants out of the apartment. Your divorce is considered a no-fault divorce and should go through within 2 months." John signed the papers and Rebecca gave him a copy. Then Olivia and Rebecca both walked out the door. Shortly after, we saw Tony hand the tape to John, and then he walked out and joined his girls. Olivia and Rebecca got back in the van with big grins on their faces. Olivia gave me a quick kiss. Everyone seemed so happy until I heard what Rebecca had to say. "Michael, until the divorce is final, you cannot see Olivia. We can't have anyone seeing the two of you together. As long as you two aren't linked, then everything should go as planned. I know that we are going to face some battles with the credit card money being taken out in the last 2 weeks, but our documents are on our side. Unless someone feels Olivia is trying to defraud the banks, that is why I let John have his retirement account. There is enough money there that the banks can go after John if he tries to file bankruptcy. There also is no money out there with Olivia's name on it, only the 45,000 she is to take out tomorrow. I suggest you just keep it in the same bank but only in your name. That will lessen any bank questions." Rebecca continued, "After the divorce, there should be no more problems, and the two of you can hook up if you choose. That will be up to you. Michael, you told me that your employer asked you to go to another state and set up a brokerage firm for a couple of months. I would advise you to take it as soon as possible. Olivia will be all right. I will be here to keep my eye on her. I hate to say it, but right now you are the biggest problem Olivia has. Of course, I can't force you to do anything, but I highly advise it." Olivia was crying, so I just held her. I knew what Rebecca had said was true. I was the only problem right now, the only weak link in the chain. I kissed Olivia goodbye and told her to contact me after the divorce. I would wait for her. Rebecca and Olivia got out of the van. Rebecca drove Olivia home so she could get whatever items she wanted. They had picked up a U-Haul earlier in the day so Olivia could haul away whatever she wanted. Rebecca did say I could call her if I needed to talk or wanted to find out anything about Olivia. After the girls had left, I checked back on the monitor and noticed that John and Sophia had left. I got out and went back into the room and gathered my equipment. I grabbed my extra copy of the tape just in case we needed it for future use. Funny, no one ever questions if there's a second copy. 2 cameras, 2 recording machines. I gathered it all up and headed for home. I was really happy for Olivia and sad for me. The next day, I went in and talked to my boss. I talked to him about the temporary job. I would be leaving for Los Angeles on Friday. I just hoped everything worked out for Olivia. She truly was a wonderful person. It looked like she got her revenge. I was the only one left out in the cold. It was fun helping out Olivia. I really did love her. When I arrived in Los Angeles, I threw myself into my work. We were starting a new brokerage firm, and we were starting from scratch. If I wasn't working, I was in my room sulking about Olivia. Over the first couple of weeks, I kept wondering if Olivia was all right. One day I called Rebecca Hayes. She was glad to hear from me. She said everything was going fine, just like they expected. John got a lawyer and wanted to fight the decree. His lawyer told him he was barking up the wrong tree, and if he wanted to go head-to-head against Rebecca, he better get a new lawyer. John was throwing around accusations about Olivia. He said she set him up, but when it came to proof, he didn't have any. Rebecca said she told John if he was going to continue accusing Olivia of anything, that she would take him to court. She was fed up with his whining. Rebecca also told me that John's lawyer mentioned that both John and Sophia had acquired syphilis. They had to go on a regimen of shots and couldn't have sex till it cleared up, otherwise they could acquire a new strain from each other. That brought a smile to my face. Finally, Rebecca said that Olivia moved into a nice apartment near her work. She took about half of the stuff from the old apartment to set up her new one. She was told not to talk about me for fear of someone connecting us. Of course, she wasn't, but it had only been a couple of weeks so far. Rebecca did say when she was talking unknown to Olivia that she really missed me and that I was a really nice guy. I would like to say that time flew by while I was in Los Angeles, but it didn't. I really didn't feel a whole lot better than I did before all this revenge stuff started. At least then, I was able to see Olivia walk by every day. I went up to Florida to visit my parents for Thanksgiving. I had to get away for a few days. It was nice to see family. I took my sister Christmas shopping and bought all my family members something. I stopped by a jewelry store and picked up an engagement and wedding ring for Olivia, hoping that someday she would say yes. After the Thanksgiving holiday, I headed back to Los Angeles. I figured I would be there about 3 more weeks. Being cold, windy, and lonely was all I could think about in Los Angeles. The city lights looked beautiful, but not when I didn't have someone to share it with. Wet hats me and the new agents got the business off the ground floor. It was doing rather well. A lot of customers, clients if you will, came in to start investing money before the end of the year. As I arrived back in Texas, I was greeted by my boss. He complimented me on the achievements of the new firm. From a work perspective, everything was great. I just hoped my personal life would be good as well. As soon as I got back to my apartment, which was 2 days before Christmas, I called Rebecca Hayes. I didn't even have a number for Olivia since she moved. Rebecca was so glad to hear from me. She asked about the business and I told her it went well. I asked her about Olivia and how the divorce was coming along. She hesitated before telling me that the divorce was final 2 days before. I asked her for Olivia's phone number. She said she wasn't allowed to give it to me, but she would call Olivia and let her know I was back in town. I thanked her and she wished me good luck. I wasn't quite sure how to feel. Olivia was now divorced. I had no idea what her thoughts had been over the last few months since I left for Los Angeles. I had the bright idea of going over to our favorite restaurant where we met for lunch each day. I went there hoping to see her. My friend Amy saw me and waved to me. I asked her to join me, maybe I could learn a little something. Amy began saying how nice it was to see me again. She had heard that I was starting up a new agency for the company in Los Angeles. We did all the usual chit-chat and talked about the holidays that began tomorrow. She told me about her family and how nice everything was going. I asked her if Olivia still worked for the company. Amy said she did, but that she and her husband had recently gotten a divorce. It happened so quickly. She stated that Olivia must have taken it pretty hard because she didn't seem quite as happy now. She refused dates and spent most of her time working. Amy said she felt sorry for her, but it was just something she had to work out herself. Everyone still loved her and hoped she would someday find the right guy. She deserved more than a cheating husband who was caught with another woman. I asked Amy if Olivia was working today. She said she was, but got a call about an hour ago, and instead of eating lunch, she left for the afternoon. She wouldn't be back until the following week after Christmas. I wished Amy a Merry Christmas and asked her to say hi to her family for me. Then I got up and went home. Nothing on the answering machine. I was beginning to get a little depressed when the phone rang. I jumped up to answer it, figuring it to be Olivia, but it wasn't. It was another telemarketer wanting money. I just slammed the damn phone back down. I knew she had to call me about her investments. On second thought, she didn't have to. We had other agents who could have updated my files for clients while I was gone. The agents and I would share any new business that was assigned to my customer base. I could call the office and see if there was any action taken on any of Olivia's accounts. I quickly rang the office, but I got voicemail. I looked up at the clock, surprised that it was 5:12 p.m. Damn. The offices would be closed till Monday for the holidays. I was in the dark here on a holiday weekend. All the offices were closed. Damn it, my emotions were starting to run amok. Did I have her? Or did I lose her? Damn it, I needed to know something. How was I supposed to make it through this weekend not knowing anything? The phone rang again. I ran to it and answered it. It was Rebecca, my lawyer. She had called to inform me that she was able to get the message that I was back to Olivia. Also, she wanted to let me know that everything about the divorce was final. John couldn't file any more motions. He tried but lost them all. He had to cash in more than half his retirement account to satisfy the bank credit card charges. I told Rebecca she was a real friend and was great to do business with. I thanked her for the information and wished her a Merry Christmas. There was a knock on the door. I opened it to find that it was Mary, my neighbor. She collected my mail and cleaned up my apartment for me while I was gone. I invited her in for a few minutes. She was a nice older woman who cleaned apartments to supplement her income. She usually cleaned mine about twice a week. She handed me my mail and gave me a tray of homemade cookies for the holidays. I asked her to wait a second because I had a gift for her also. I went in and gave her an envelope with 3 crisp 100 bills for Christmas. She smiled and thanked me. Then she left. We needed more nice ladies like Mary in this world. She was a delightful person to be around. I was getting hungry, so I called the local pizza shop and ordered a pizza. I asked for it to be delivered. I didn't want to go out anymore tonight. I asked them to stop by the grocery store and pick me up a 12-pack of Budweiser beer as well. That's the nice part of living in a smaller city, the so-called hometown conveniences. I decided to turn on the TV to watch the latest news and wait for my pizza to arrive. A half hour later, the doorbell rang. I got up to get my pizza. When I opened the door, there stood Olivia with a big smile on her face. I had tears growing in my eyes and said, "I thought you were the pizza guy." She smiled, "Sorry to disappoint you, no pizza, just me." I pulled her into the living room and hugged her. God, she always felt good. "I missed you, Olivia. I missed you terribly. So good to see you again." She was getting ready to say something when the doorbell rang again. I opened it, and it was the pizza guy with my beer and pizza. I quickly paid him and closed the door. Then I turned back around to Olivia. "Are you hungry? We got pizza and beer," as I held them both up in my hands. Olivia looked at me, still smiling. "You are really a funny guy, you know." I was all prepared with what I was going to say, and I get here, and I can't even think straight. I have to tell you a couple of things, and then we can eat pizza while it's still hot. I know you hate cold pizza. Okay, big guy, I missed you too. In case you didn't hear it yet, I'm now a divorced woman. I just found out today that you were back. I didn't want to leave you a phone message that would have been too tacky. I needed to talk to you in person. I left work early after Rebecca called me to let me know you were home. I went out to buy you kind of a Christmas present. You'll see it after we get done eating. It's not every day you splurge and buy me dinner, so let's eat. As I was getting us a couple of paper plates, I asked her, "What kind of a present?" She just smiled that Isomelton smile and said, "You'll see. Now eat your pizza and pass me a beer." She laughed. While we ate, we talked about her job and how well it was going. I told her about the agency we opened up and explained the details. Both of us skirted the big issues they were to come shortly. After we had enough pizza, Olivia looked at me and said, "Are you ready for your kind of a present now?" I smiled and said, "Yep, where is it?" Olivia held up a little sack about the size of a small lunch bag. "They'll be right back," she exclaimed as she left the room. I put the pizza and beer on the counter and went into the drawer where I kept the ring I bought for her, took it out, and slipped it into my pocket. She yelled from the bedroom, "Are you ready?" I yelled back, "I think so." When she walked in, she said, "I bought this kind of for you today. You get to unwrap it if you like." She was standing there in revealing clothes. She looked at me and said, "I'm no longer a married woman anymore, and I wouldn't be cheating on any husband now. If you want your present, we can go into the bedroom." I had tears streaming down my face. This is the woman I had wanted for over a year now, standing there. I looked at her and said, "On one condition." I reached into my pocket and pulled out the ring and said, "If you'll marry me." She started crying and ran up to me. As I began to hug her soft, warm body, she screamed out, "Yes, I'll marry you. Yes, yes, yes. God, how I have grown to love you." I lifted her up into my arms and carried her into my bedroom. This was going to be our first time together. It had to be good. I knew it would be. I took my time as I gently kissed around her neck. Everything I was going to be doing from then on was going to be gentle, like making love to an angel. I rolled off of her, and she cuddled close to me, and we fell asleep. We must have slept quite a while. It was totally dark in the house and in the room when we woke up. It had been a long time for me since waking up next to a woman I wanted. There, Olivia took a shower and cleaned up while I slipped the leftover pizza into the oven for a little bit. It always tasted better out of the oven. As we ate pizza, we talked some more. I asked Olivia when she wanted to get married. She replied that she wanted it to be as soon as possible. She didn't want to wait. By then, it was about 10 p.m. in the evening. I called Rebecca Hayes at her house. She answered by a skin. "What's the matter, Michael?" She must have had caller ID. I told her that Olivia and I had a problem, and maybe she could help solve it, seeing she was a lawyer. "What is it, Michael? I'll help if I can. Olivia and I want to get married as soon as possible, but tomorrow is Christmas Eve, and we need a judge to marry us. Do you know anyone?" Rebecca started Logan. "So, Olivia called you, did she? I'm happy for the both of you. Meet me at the courthouse tomorrow morning. Well, get your marriage license and then come to my house. You see, Mr. Hayes, my husband, is a judge. I know he'll marry you. See you tomorrow at 9 a.m. sharp." The next morning, Olivia, who was dressed beautifully, and I, dressed in a suit, met Rebecca at the recorder's office. We got our license and headed over to Rebecca's house to get married. Her husband seemed to be a pretty nice guy for a judge. You never know what to expect with lawyers and judges, but we knew Rebecca was the best. Olivia didn't have much family left in the area, just a few distant cousins. So we decided to head up to Florida and surprise my family with my new wife. To say they were happy or overjoyed would be putting it mildly. Ecstatic would be a better word. They all loved Olivia. How could they not? She was definitely part of the family. Wow, Christmas turned out pretty good after all. We had to head back after Christmas. We both had jobs and now had move-in to do. We decided to live in my apartment. Hers was on a month-to-month lease anyway. Each day after work, we would move some of her stuff over to my place. It was fun doing just about everything together. The girls where she worked were so happy for her. They said the old Olivia was back. Amy was a bit shocked when she found out I was the new husband, remembering that I was a bad bastard and very vengeful. I remember Olivia telling her, "Don't worry, Amy. He's a puppy, and I love him dearly." The big New Year's Eve bash was coming up. Most all of the successful business people from the area attended it. I asked Olivia, "Sweetheart, want to go to the bash of the year? Our first time that everyone can see us together. I want to show you off. Besides, our ex-spouses might even be there." Olivia was thinking, then looked at me and said, "Michael, I love you with all my heart, and I want everyone to know it. Yes, we will be going to the New Year's party, my dear husband." I watched her starting to get ready. Olivia was the greatest. Life was good. Off to the New Year's party we went. Olivia looked stunning. She looked so good. She was dressed borderline revealing, but in a good way. Everyone wanted us to sit at their table. My boss and his group, Olivia's friends, and even the few friends I had. Rebecca and Judge Brown invited us to their table. That's where we decided to sit. I looked at Rebecca and told her I never saw a lawyer look that good. She looked fantastic. They introduced us to everyone else at their table. They were mostly judges and their wives and all seemed like pretty nice people. The music was loud, but it was New Year's Eve. Olivia and I got up and danced all the slow dances. Other men asked Olivia to dance, but her answer was always, "Not this year. I only want to dance with my husband. This was our year to be together." The one exception we made was that I danced one dance with Rebecca and Olivia danced once with the judge. They were special friends. As we were dancing, we found ourselves next to Rachel, my ex-wife's sister. It just happened that we almost ran into Rachel and her husband on the crowded dance floor. She looked and said, "Oh my God, it's Michael." I looked over at her and said, "Well, good evening, Rachel, and Happy New Year to you." Then I said, "I would like to introduce you to my wife, Olivia." "Olivia, this is Rachel and her husband." He reached forward to shake Olivia's hand and said, "John. My name's John." Olivia gave her patented smile and said, Glad to meet you, John and Rachel. Then Olivia looked at Rachel and said, didn't we meet before at Robinson's restaurant on Old Route 66 about 2 months ago? John replied, no, that place is too expensive for our tastes. Rachel turned white and said, nice meeting you too. We have to get back to our seats. We knew she had to get back and tell John and Sophia that we were there. We looked over at their table. Sophia knocked over her drink when she found out I was there. We saw them turn to look at us quickly. We could hear Sophia say, oh my God, John, he's with your ex-wife. John almost fell off his chair trying to turn and look. Rachel looked at Sophia and said, Sophia, he introduced her as his wife. John said, that son of a bitch set us up. They took us for over 100,000 plus they set us up to get a venereal disease. How did they know everything? Sophia said, Michael told me that someday he would get even with us. John said, maybe we can try talking them back to court. Rachel laughed. Give it up, you two. Do you guys see who they're sitting with? Rebecca Hayes and a half-dozen judges. And if that's not enough, John, he could kick your ass from here into tomorrow. Make no mistake, Michael is all man, and by the looks of his wife, she's all woman. They make a great couple. It was after midnight, and the crowd was beginning to thin. Rebecca and the judge said their goodnights, as well as the people at their table. So after our next dance, Olivia and I decided to sit in a booth not too far from Sophia, John, and their group. Olivia left for the restroom. When she came back, she looked at John and Sophia kind of staring at her and me out of the corner of their eyes. Olivia asked me if I was ready. I looked at her and asked, ready for what? To go home. Honey? No, Michael. Are you ready for your revenge? Then right in front of John, Sophia, Rachel, and John, she did it. Then in words loud enough for the other table to hear, she said, Happy New Year, lover. Who said revenge isn't sweet. And that's the story. Do you think revenge was justified? Or did it go too far? Let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe.